Welcome back to ADHD Whiskey. My name is Matt, and today we're redoing the list of the only 5 whiskeys that you need at any given time. There was a thread on Reddit, and a gentleman on Reddit said that you only needed to have 5 whiskeys at any given time. He gave the criteria for those whiskeys, and every whiskey channel on the planet made a video with his criteria, including me. I feel like that criteria needs to be a little bit different. I want to put my spin on it. A little bit of a Matt job, little bit of a spin J. I'm remaking this list. Part 2, the sequel, remix edition. The first whiskey that you absolutely need to have in your collection is the whiskey to get the night started off right. It's a great pour to get things going in a jiffy. To quote my friends over at the Chill Filtered podcast, who have a tremendous podcast, to quote them, this whiskey will be the entry buzz whiskey. And in my household, it's light whiskey. This Obtainium from Cat's Eye Distillery comes in at 147.6 proof. I just polished off one of these bad buggers. Not tonight, obviously, but recently. You want to kick the tires and light the fires, Big Daddy? 14-year-old Hazmat Light Whiskey. It's MGP, it's delicious, it's wonderful, and it will get you warmed up quicker than being thrown in the middle of an inferno, or volcano even. The first whiskey that you need is the Entry Buzz Pour. The second whiskey that's a must-have in your house falls under the category of a current favorite. A current favorite. This whiskey can change. It's a changer. It's a little bit of a change up, a little bit of a changeroo. You're like, 1 second, you're loving a nice peated scotch, and the next second, you're loving something good, like bourbon. And what do we have here? A current favorite of mine. It's a Knob Creek Single Barrel. It's a Bourbon Junkie's pick. It's ridiculous and tremendous and so good. And I love it so much, I want to drink all of this. In moderation, of course. I'd like to stretch the word moderation out a little bit, stretch the limits on that as far as I can, but still keep it moderate. You gotta have a current favorite. You gotta have a current favorite. And that goes for a lot of things in life. Matt, what's your current favorite potato chip? And I'm like, easy, Sun Chips. And you're like, what flavor? I'm like, garden salsa, suck on that. You didn't think I had an answer, but I did. Freaking garden salsa Sun Chips. The crack of chips. Number 2 was a current favorite. Number 3, this whiskey is a whiskey that very few people have heard about. It's not mainstream. It's not super on the radar. And this whiskey you have to make yourself feel a little bit cooler than everybody else. It's kind of like that band that you knew before everybody else did. And you were like, their shit kicks or something. And everybody else was like, who are you talking about? And you're like, never heard of them? Moron. And that bottle, for me, to make me feel a little bit cooler, a little bit MacGyver, something, I don't know. I feel super cool because I have a bottle of Bardstown Bourbon Company, Copper and King's apple brandy finished Indiana bourbon whiskey. It's like 14-year-old MGP or 12-year-old MGP or 10-year-old MGP. Which one is it? 11-year-old MGP. Wow, I really screwed that one up. 11-year-old MGP finished for 18 months in apple brandy casks. And it's mind-blowingly good. Out of this world good. So good. And I feel a little bit cooler because not everybody knows about it. And they won't, if I have anything to say about it. I'll keep this one a secret, just between me and you. The fourth category of bottles of whiskey that you only need. Wow, why is this so hard to say? Number 4 on the list is a bottle that you have to make your friends jealous. And you rub it in their face. This is a bottle that when your friends try to impress you, they're like, look what I got. You're like, boom, bitch, look what I got. 2012 birthday bourbon. 2012 birthday bourbon. It was a gift from Jack Johnson. He's the man. He's the best, but like, I still have it, so you don't. I'm just flying through these in rapid succession. So fast, so much speed. Before I get to the fifth one, in the comment section below, list your 5 based on my categories, based off of my criteria. List your 5. Let me know which bottles you would pick. If you haven't subscribed yet, consider yourself on my list of people to run over with my 2003 Toyota Corolla. And then hit subscribe to immediately remove yourself from that list. And if you're watching out there and you have a YouTube channel, I'm talking to you bourbon junkies, Mash and Drum, Curiosity Public, Destination Bourbon, Whiskey Central, Shelf Turds, Hot Buttery Rolls, Cold Buttery Rolls, Trev Wilson the Bourbon Wrench, Drew P. Whiskey, Drums and Drams, The Podcast, It's Bourbon Night, Bourbon Blind, I Whiskey She Wines, Bubble Bath Bourbon, The Mash Bill even, Bourbon Sane, Rise from the Dead, and make this video calling you out, you slacking pharmacy loving son of a bitch. Whiskey in the 6, Whiskey in the 7, Whiskey in the 8, Dusty Dan's Whiskey Reviews, The Whiskey Vault, they'll never watch this, The Whiskey Dictionary, friggin' Whiskey Dick, Rock Gut Review, My Bourbon Journey, Scott, Whiskey Crusaders, and anybody else out there with a whiskey channel who I forgot, who will be mad at me for not just rattling it off from the top of my head. I challenge you to make a video with my criteria as well. These 5 categories. These 5 are super smart, super accurate, super wonderful, smart, obviously better list than the first one. Bourbon Bites, Friggin' Clifton, how did I almost forget Bourbon Bites? Whiskey Mountains, boom, Whiskey Mountains, or Whiskey Mountain. And of course, the Chill Filtered Podcast, whose term I stole early here in the video. What's your entry buzz whiskey? Huh? You can only have 5 whiskeys. Let's see your list based off my criteria. Let's hear it. We won't be able to see you because you're too chicken shit to get on YouTube. Let's hear it. That brings us to our 5th and final category. We've done the entry buzz whiskey. We've done the current favorite whiskey. We've done a bottle that isn't exactly well known by everybody on the planet, so what makes you feel cool about yourself for having a bottle of whiskey? We did a rare bottle of whiskey that you have that your friends don't, that you can rub in their face and make them feel little and smaller than you, and inadequate. That's what I meant to say. The 5th and final bottle of whiskey that you need is a bottle that offers you the possibility to both drink and entertain and put on a little bit of a show for your friends who expect a show. And this one is a great long pour bottle. It's a bottle that you know you can long pour from anywhere, any height, any distance, and never spill a drop. It just all ends up in the glass. And that bottle for me is Barrel Bourbon. In this particular case, Barrel Dovetail. It's an American whiskey finished in a whole bunch of different casks. Rum, port, Dove Vineyard Cabernet barrels. Wasn't that many, it was only 3.